So we are so excited today to have Deepica Mutyala with us in the group chat. Deepica is a South Asian beauty entrepreneur, businesswoman, and founder and CEO of Live Tinted, which is a multicultural community about beauty and culture. Mutyala launched Live Tinted in 2018 as an inclusive digital community that explores diverse beauty for every shade in between. Live Tinted focuses on underrepresented people in beauty and their personal journeys with culture and identity. And Deepica and her brand have been featured in Vogue, Refinery 29, Inc., Business Insider, all over the place. Forbes, the New York Times, Elle, big things.
Oh God, so obnoxious.
No, it's not.
No,
never be modest.
We give our flowers on this show, especially to women of color. Hello.
Yes. Exactly. So thinking about all the work that you've done in your brand and your dedication to multicultural community about beauty and culture, I was thinking about our definitions of beauty and how we were raised and what we grew up with, what understandings you grew up with around beauty. So for you, Deepica, what types of depictions of beauty did you see growing up?
Girl, I grew up in Houston, Texas, which is where I am right now. I moved back during the pandemic, and so it's Texas. So I saw a lot of blonde hair, blue eyes. That's what I saw, and to the point where I dyed my hair blonde and got blue contacts. Like, I know I need to find a picture, like a good one.
Yeah.
It I have some, but it was like. And by the way, the first time I dyed my hair blonde, I went to like an Indian salon that does threading, and it was orange. It fully turned orange, like, because it's like I was never taught like how you're supposed to dye your hair blonde. Anyways, so yeah, that was what I saw in the world. And I remember I was 16 and I told my dad I wanted to change this. Like I remember being the Indian girl who was friends with a bunch of white girls, trying to be cool and trying to fit in and change things about myself, never letting people come over to my house because I didn't want them to see my mom in her like Indian clothes or cooking curry and things like that. And now I'm like, all those same girls want to come over for curry.
Of course they do.
Of course. Oh my gosh. I feel you so hard on that. Like, Glynn and I talk about growing up and like even growing up in pretty Black communities. We're both from Brooklyn, from Bed-Stuy, but like once you kind of leave your enclave and you go out into the city, end up going to high school or middle school where it's like a big mix of people. And of course, what you're seeing in like music videos, and everybody wants like the light-skinned girl with the curly hair and the colorful eyes, which like that is beautiful, but also like there are different definitions of beauty. And when you don't see it, it does really like fuck with you on a different level that you like internalize and then you have to undo.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you know what I thought was like the coolest part that I learned? Sorry, did I cut you off? Like,
no, I mean, I was just going to say really quickly, I just relate so hard. I wore gray contacts freshman, sophomore year of high school, had to sneak and put them on before I left the house because my parents would roast me if they caught me.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I just felt you, but yes, continue.
I mean, I remember like having to sneak razors to shave my mustache because I was hairy as fuck. And like, that was like, I got made fun of for my mustache and like guys would make fun of it and stuff. And I was like, because the other girls didn't have to deal with that. And it's just like little things like that like really mess you up and feel like defeated in who you are and want to change who you are. And like your self-worth is dictated on that. But I think the coolest part about like building Live Tinted is what made me realize is that like, there's so many commonalities, obviously differences and nuances to different women of color. But what I realized was the shared commonality of colorism that we experience that
Absolutely.
I didn't know, right? So like when I first started Live Tinted, I really was just speaking to an experience I had. I never wanted to like project to any other person, even other women of color, because there's very unique experiences. Hey, we all have done this, but it was so dope to see that like just by sharing my story of like hiding from the sun, being terrified of getting darker because fair was considered beautiful. How many people from different backgrounds were like, girl, same. And that's what made me realize, oh my God, there is a way to create a multicultural community around shared beauty experiences. It's pretty crazy.
Completely. Sade knows I used to hide from the sun too. And it's so sad when I think back on those memories and how now I've arrived at a place where I go on vacation and I chase the sun, and I like can't wait to see like what shade my skin will turn and how much more beautiful it gets when it's tan. Like it's wild. And I'm thinking about, we talked about what we saw in mainstream media around beauty, but we don't know this experience growing up as a South Asian woman. What kind of conversations were happening around colorism culturally for you?
Yeah.
I think a big part that really screwed me up is Bollywood, which is like the Indian Hollywood in India. And it's every depiction. And the really sad part is we've at least made some progress in the US as far as Hollywood goes and media goes. But in India, it is still exactly what it was when I grew up, where fair is still considered beautiful, and every major actress in the country is a very specific size and a very specific skin color. There's been some progress, but nowhere near where it needs to be. Like still the number one product in India is a bleaching cream. And my mom has that on her counter growing up. Yeah, like I grew up with this product called Fair and Lovely on my mom's.
Fair and Lovely, I've heard of it.
It's real. And it was on my counter. And my mom put it on as if it was a moisturizer every day. And I know. And that's what I saw on her counter. And I remember like none of the foundations matched her skin tone, partially because there weren't shades that worked for our skin tone growing up. Yeah. But also partially because she wanted a lighter color to look, and I hate to like put my mom on blast like that because she didn't know any better, but it's just so sad how much that experience that she's experienced intergenerationally just like passes on. And I just want to put a stop to it. Like, I feel very, very confident that colorism can end with like our kids' generation if we do the right work now. And it takes all of us talking about it and like you said, going to the sun and loving our skin. And it just makes me excited to see the progress happening.
Completely. Go ahead, Sade.
It blows my mind that like across so many women of color, like it's the same narrative. And I'm like, I mean, I know where it stems from, but it's also like, damn, like that is like so unfortunate. And then to your point, like representation is so important. I think we have seen progress, but I still think there's a lot of work to be done. And I loved your point around like kind of, it's not your mom's fault, right? Like she didn't know any better. And it's like, how do we educate to kind of like combat what media is doing? And I think that's what's really cool about your brand, because like it makes you feel special to be brown. It makes you feel special to have like some melanin in your skin.
Yeah, like this is my inspo wall right here, and it just brings me so much joy like every day when I look at it. Like all the brown girls
teasing right now for those who can't see us.
You
got Sade on there.
I'm like, hey,
all the brown girls. You
guys, so before I started with Tinted, we did an exercise. This is just a part of it. It was like 70 images just like this. These were some of them, my favorite ones that I put up. But 3 years ago, we did this and we laid it on the floor. And we were like, where is it that a brand doesn't exist? And think back, this is 2017. So like before Fenty, like before, which I think Fenty has done so much for this industry, thank God. But it's like, this was like pre even that existing. And what I noticed when I even looked at all these pictures, there was no women of color sparking joy, like happiness and like smiling and like laughter. Like when you see depictions of us on the internet, it's a lot of like, just I get aesthetic and slays and like high fierce and all this stuff, but that like to me, I'm a girl from Texas who's just like, I don't know how to vogue it up. I just want to see myself reflected in the beauty industry. And I love Rihanna and I'm so grateful for what she's done with Fenty. I'm not Rihanna, right? Like I want something that's like truly, I love that I can like, I remember they like featured me on their Instagram and I felt so cool because I fully tried to be in Fenty mode with like yellow sunglasses and like a dope puffer jacket, like all these things. But the reality is who I am is like what you're looking at right now. And I feel like it's important for young girls and boys and whatever you identify as to see yourself just as you are, right? And think that that is good and cool in itself. And so I tried to find the ones where I saw people laughing, but I thought y'all would appreciate that.
Oh, totally.
I love that.
I love it.
I have another question, but Glynn, this is her show. Like,
no.
I don't want to. I know because
Go ahead, Sade.
Glynn is a writer, so she, when we each take over episodes, and like when it's her episode, sometimes she'll be like, "Bitch, you're fucking up my narrative," but we good. Okay,
get in
great,
here, get in there.
Cool. So something that I find really interesting is, so I have a lot of Indian friends. Like, I somehow was adopted into an Indian family. Lucky me, it is like the best experience. But something that's so fascinating and we talk a lot about is this concept of like colorism and the distinction between like the South Asian and the Black community. And the number one thing that like blew my mind is when I would hear my friend call herself brown, or they'd be like the brown girls, and I'd be like, wait, you guys say brown? And like it was nothing I had ever heard before. Like, I know you didn't originate this term, but like, is it something that the Indian community has always embraced, or is this something like new?
Well, okay, I'm only going to speak for myself because I feel like I recently started to say brown over, and I still say Indian too, because there is this like pride I have in being an Indian woman. And I think even within India, the divides between North and South, and even within the South and the North, and there's the classism, casteism, there's so many layers to it all that's very deep rooted, so deep rooted that we couldn't get into in this like podcast, but the higher level is that it's extremely deep rooted. But what I've realized is, as I've gotten more comfortable with who I am and my identity and my culture, honestly, through building this brand, it's like really made me even realize, like, damn, like how dope is it that I have this platform to be able to hopefully inspire other brown. And I think the reason I say brown now over Indian at like a larger volume is I really love the connection it brings to other people. I have plenty of Black friends who say they're brown. I have Latinx friends who say they're brown, and Middle Eastern, and I guess I love that shared experience of it. So I like to say brown and talk about my immigrant parent narrative, because I think that connects a larger group of people. And I feel like we need that support system, I guess.
Entirely.
No.
Yep, Sade stole my question.
Sorry.
That is what I was going to ask.
It came to mind.
No, it's good. We're flowing. No, because a good friend of mine is South Asian, and she refers to herself as brown. And every time she says it, and I don't think that she had been saying it, referring to herself as brown in the beginning of our friendship, but I've heard her start to embrace it a lot more. And every time she says it, I feel a bit closer to her. Or I feel like we're like we see each other in a way that I hadn't realized before. And I think it's very interesting, especially in America, where we're talking a lot about Black and white, to have this space for brown people. And probably I can only imagine would help contextualize one's identity in a different kind of way.
So I will tell you, when I first started Live Tinted, our tagline was Live Tinted for every shade in between. And when I went to like investors to pitch the concept, my thought process was everything between white and Black. Like, what about all the shades in between of brown that don't get represented in this narrative? Because at that point, Fenty had launched, and I was like, finally, like, there should be 50 more of these representing for Black women. But at least there was Rihanna, who's the biggest, most incredible name that could like really put Black women on the map, which was like so exciting for me. And I didn't feel like South Asian people had that same, or again, like there's a whole range. What about mixed and all these other things? And so, and so I originally went into it thinking that, and then we didn't really say brown, or all we did was talk about our experiences like colorism. And that's what made me realize it's really short-sighted to think of this brand just for brown women when shades of brown are across the whole spectrum. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like the Live Tinted, I love because everyone has a tint to their skin. So it connects us across that kind of idea. But our products are catered to problems that are predominantly more showcased in people of color, like dark circles and hyperpigmentation, like a white cast on our skin when we put on a fucking SPF. I don't know if I can cuss on your show.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Okay. Sorry. And so I think that all we're all trying to do, right, even with y'all's podcast, is let people be seen and let them, have a voice. And I think the more I grow this brand, the more I realize, and I know it's a big goal and every brand screams inclusivity, but I know I'm doing this at every layer of my business, down to the employees, to the board, to my investors, to not just my campaign launches, and not just with a token one person. I have multiple people of color across different ethnic groups featured in my campaigns, which is really, to be honest, a lot of work, a lot of money, and a lot of time. But I feel like the beauty industry doesn't need just another brand. They need a brand that's going to make a change. And I feel like I'm doing it. And it just makes me, it fills my soul, if nothing else.
Absolutely.
It has to be so fulfilling. And it's something that I realized could almost like pull us further together, even though it feels something like, not that your brand is very important, but makeup feels trivial sometimes, right? It's it's like another thing that we do, but it's not that, especially for like a woman who is a makeup girl. Like, again, going back to my Indian friends, there have been nights where I've like slept over and I'm like, oh my God, we're going to a brunch the next day. I'm borrowing stuff. And like one girl's makeup I can use as foundation, kind of. Another brown girl's, I can use some of her stuff as concealer. They're using my stuff to contour, and we're like all sharing makeup. And it was that moment where we kind of were like,
oh my God,
wait a minute.
We kind of,
like,
we're kind of on the same vibe. Yeah.
How cool is that, right?
It's
like
cool.
I remember growing up with a ton of blonde haired, blue eyed girls where I felt like shit because I did not match their anything. Like I couldn't do that in high school with their stuff. And it felt really crappy. And so, yeah, I think that my dream of this brand, I think it takes time and, you know, resources, and I'm going through fundraising, is what you just said. Like I want to people of color need to get connected more. And of course, there's, by the way, like shared experiences. I learned so much last year during BLM, my inherent privilege that I didn't know. Like I knew, but I didn't know, you know, like you don't really know as much as you think you do. Like the whole, it's not enough to be not racist, to be anti-racist, all of those layers, like really self-reflections came out, not just for myself, but people in my life, of me saying like, that is really not okay. I mean, there's so many brown guys who think it's okay to say the N-word and things like that, that like, I just had to cut out of my life. And there's some people I just feel like as much as I try to change them, I can't, but I can't control if they're in my life. And so I just think there's so many layers of all these things that we can only change through education and conversation and understanding. So to me, Lip Tinted, the product is literally just a vehicle to do that. It is not about a lipstick or an eyeshadow or whatever it is, but every campaign, like with our Mineral SPF, like it featured 5 different women from different cultural backgrounds, and talking about how we all experience this white cast from Mineral SPF. So how can you as a Black woman and me as an Indian woman and someone who's a Latinx woman come together and be like, damn, we all experience that, and the white girl we grew up with has no idea. And in the way, the reason I say that is because I think that it's important that I want them to also evolve as like, and understand that like, even if it wasn't their fault, like the same way we said about my mom, right? There's a difference between things like where you actively know you're doing something wrong versus you just don't know. And so how can my brand help educate these people in a way? I'm not about cancel culture. That's not who I am. But how can I lead by example? That's really just what I want to do.
1,000%. Do you got some? I was going to ask, we've been talking a lot about this community across people of color, and we go back and forth about this on the show. The term BIPOC, how do you feel about it? Do you like it? Do you embrace it? Do you feel like it's an umbrella term for you?
I go back and forth too, and it's really tricky. And I think I'm just trying to find a way to connect people without neglecting people's individual experiences that are also important to understand. And so what is that term that does that? Which is why I've been leaning more into the word brown rather than BIPOC, because I feel like I can absolutely say that I identify as brown. And if other people connect to that, like I see Black women commenting back saying, girl, thanks for doing this for all of us brown girls. And it makes me so happy, because like, I never know if that, like, I can't speak for a Black woman and say that what they identify as, but to see that makes me feel really good. So I think the intention behind BIPOC is right and positive, but I understand the nuances of why it could be seen as, I guess the word's problematic. I don't know if that's the word or not.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like it's just very, and I embrace it when it's being used by the people that it's it purports to define, I guess. But then I
Yeah.
think it gets like thrown out in this like
Media.
buzzwordy way
Yeah.
where it starts to like not mean anything.
Yeah. But I
yeah.
guess, like, what do you think? I mean, I would honestly love to know, is like a way. So say you are a part of the BIPOC community. Like, for example, I was trying to think of like, should my tagline for Live Tinted be made by and for BIPOC people, BIPOC, so I don't know, or something like that. Because how else do you identify? Right now we're leaning into like made by and for all tinted women or something like that. I would
love
it.
that.
That's
I was gonna say
one.
something in that, like,
okay.
I agree with you, Glynn. It's a hard thing because I get frustrated when, yes, other communities now try to kind of bring us all together. Like, yeah, we're making progress, or we donate to BIPOC communities. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Are you donating to Black people, Indigenous people? Then there's the
POC part,
right? Yeah, I'm like,
who's in the POC? I guess I'm POC, but I'm also in the Black part of BIPOC.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's like, to your point, when it's amongst us, and we can use that as like a feeling of solidarity, because I think ultimately the goal, we're dismantling white supremacy over here. So we don't need to be contributing to any more of those sentiments of but in the same regard, we do have unique challenges and struggles, and when we start to think about like funding, politics, we do need to make distinctions.
Absolutely.
It's like,
that's huge for me. Again, like, that's another thing I've really learned. And we, charitable things, again, I don't want to assume negative intent, but yeah, this is what y'all said rubs me the wrong way, where it's like we're donating to the BIPOC community. It feels very performative. And for me and Live Tinted, we haven't actually committed to like something, because nothing feels right until it feels right. And so we're actually like trying to establish more of like a grant program where we give creatives in our community a grant, not like a donation or anything. Like, you go do what you want to do with this to go achieve your dreams, because I didn't have that for me as a girl who was told to go either be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. That said, I know that I have, again, privileges allotted to me, that there needs to be certain dollars allocated to different parts of the POC community more than myself. And I recognize that. And those nuances aren't talked about enough when you bucket everyone together.
And I'll even jump in and say, like, within your own community, there are so many layers. Like, I can't speak for like the layers within like what you experience within I'll only speak for the friends of mine that I have, but like the way my friend will describe like her relationship with like Muslim Indians, or understanding the to your point, like the caste systems and like what certain people have access to. When you see some of these shows that depict India, and you see some of these like extreme regal lifestyles, and then I'm like, that can't apply to everyone. It's like, where do you even begin to like unpack all of that? And so I feel like it is fair if you were like, I need to do this for Indian women, I need to do this for South Asian women, I need to do this for Latinx women. But then at the same time, it's a common goal of us all progressing.
And that's where I struggle. So it's really good for you to say that to me, because I'm going through this exercise in my brain now. I know that my people need representation, and I want to do it. I also identify as an Indian American. And that's, I guess, my struggle is like, there's so much work to do in America for representation, that one day, my biggest dream is to take Live Tinted to India. Like, that is my
iconic, epic, game changing.
I mean, I need a billboard that says Unfair and Lovely, just like dismantling the idea of Fair and Lovely altogether. Like, that is the goal.
Whoa.
Tear it down.
Whoa. Girl, we might have to bleep that out, because that's hot. That's good.
I know, we don't need someone stealing your shit.
It needs to happen. You know what, though? If they do, then it's happening and it's progressing. Like, I felt that way even like when I started my brand around the pillars of diversity and inclusion. And then last year, every brand said that they were inclusive. I mean, that at first was just it drove me bonkers, because I know the performative action of it. Exactly. But when you think about the larger goal, and the whole purpose is to move things forward. And if they're doing it, then at least the next generation, whether the intention is pure or not, is going to see a world where that's normalized. And I think that really made me feel good about what happened last year. but I think there's a lot of work to be done globally, and I feel like we can do that. So you're totally right about the nuances of it all. I think it's crazy.
This is a little bit random, but I was having a conversation with a friend of mine similarly about this. Beyonce and Tiffany's and the diamond, I forgot what it's called. Is it the Love Stone? Sade, you don't know about this?
I know about it. I don't know what the diamond is called.
Oh, okay. But you know, the girls are mad. They're like, why are you partnering with Tiffany's? These are blood diamonds, et cetera, et cetera. I veer on the side of like, this is problematic, but my friend was making the point, and having Beyonce and Jay-Z as a face of this campaign. But my friend was saying there's something powerful about seeing them in these Black people in the position as the face, occupying all this wealth. And like, we don't always have to think that these brands are using us, and that maybe there's something progressive about it. I don't know. Shado's shaking her head.
Well, yeah. Do y'all know Sharon C., the one who started the Pull Up or Shut Up challenge?
Oh, I know that phrase, but I don't know who that is. Yeah.
Okay, so she just posted this. I saw it right before this. Tiffany & Co. wants us to celebrate Beyonce being the first Black woman to wear the iconic Tiffany yellow diamond that, in case you care to know, was pillaged from Africa. And all media outlets ran with this incredibly tone-deaf narrative. No questions asked. It's 2021, guys. And she just goes off in her paragraph about it. And it really, again, it opened up my eyes. I'm like, damn, good fucking point. And yeah, again, these are like the little nuances. Again, without the education, I didn't even go there. I truly did see it as what you said, as the latter. And the second I read that, I was like, shit, yeah, like, right. It took this long, like, and you're positioning it as a victory, like, exactly. I don't know.
She's the first Black woman to wear this diamond.
I'm honestly, the hot take, I'm over first Black, and I'll only speak for Black, because at this point, like, I don't want a seat at your table. Like, I'm good. Like, I completely understand. We live in a capitalistic society. Money makes the world go round.
I need a headline.
Yeah, but like, I want to be networking across and like building up my community. I don't need to have accolades from a company that
or approval.
Fact check me on this. Don't take this verbatim, but I saw a post that Tiffany's used to make shackles. Like, they used to make the iron for shackles for enslaved people. So it's like, I don't need to feel as though this brand that previously made money and is in this space to even be a luxury brand because of the blood, sweat, and tears of our people, Black and brown people, because who knows what they've done all over the world.
And there are Indian people mining blood diamonds to this day.
Come on now. Like, and that's where it's like, and that's where the solidarity comes in. And that's where I feel good about the term BIPOC, for us to be like, fuck you, Tiffany, we're good. I'm going to go support XYZ brand of color that I know is not rooted in like demonic history of slavery. And I rather be like, Beyonce's wearing insert this person
small owned brand. I will also say the problem with the first narrative is it creates the scarcity model and the idea that only one of us can do it. Like, I know within the brown community, you either hear about Priyanka Chopra or Mindy Kaling, and it's this idea of, oh my God, you look just like Mindy. I'm like, I literally look nothing like her, but you identify me as one of two that are in the media. And whenever you see this idea of the first, it makes you feel like, what you said is right. I'm just over there being the first, and it should just be normalized that we're just a part of it, and we're just not there yet. And so you can see it as like progress over perfection, or just like, when is it time that like people just get it? And I don't know the right answer.
We have this conversation a lot about like the seat at the table, and unfortunately, like, there do need to be people at some of these tables, but like, I'm really getting over it. And I think that's something that's really dope about your brand, is that like, you're creating your own legacy and you're employing people that are coming from diverse backgrounds, and like that, I think, is what we need to progress towards, and building community where we don't solely need to attain a goal to attain like billionaire-ship and being with like the NFL and be like, and don't get me wrong,
why do we need all those checks though?
We don't
need all those checks.
Yes, I agree with that. I just think it's important to share this because it's taken me a long time to build, and we're doing product by product. And like you said, because it's important that I do it the right way. And we're announcing very soon, and maybe when this podcast is live, that we just closed our next round of funding, and our whole board is people of color.
Let's go.
Because when you talk about a seat at the table, it needs to be at the highest table, like the decision makers, right? Like you can't just have a Black employee and say that you're being inclusive, and like vice versa, any people of color, and say you're inclusive. It's like, but your whole board is white men. Like, then, okay, so are you really giving that opportunity? Like, we need to see ourselves at the highest seat to see ourselves at the highest seat.
Yes.
And so that to me is something I'm super proud of. Took a lot of no's from the wrong people to get yeses from the right people. But I can't tell you that the reason I was saying I was tired was I was up till 1 a.m. talking to our lawyers. It's just a lot of work. People just don't see the behind the scenes, right? You see the beauty brand, you see the campaign, but running a business is soul sucking.
Oh yeah.
As y'all know. And anyways, I'm just really proud of that. And I want to,
that is incredible.
I just hope as we grow, that I mean, this will hopefully y'all will call me out, but because I think we should be called out if we don't stick to it, but I just want to stick to it. I want that to be what we do. And it's hard as you scale and grow, but.
Yeah. And I mean, that's not to say like all white people are evil and like don't deserve, but like, it's like, we have to level the playing field. And I'm sorry. And I know that hurts to hear, but you have to realize that people have constantly told us, pull yourself up from the bootstraps, figure it out. People make these sacrifices that are inhumane at this point. There's no reason that you have to have these like traumatic stories of overcoming poverty and oppression. Like, why is that a thing? We are literally in 2021 and there's a man qualified. Who's worth $180 billion fucking dollars.
Like, unreal.
And yeah, you're exactly right. It's not like we're anti all of it. I just think that there's a lot of talented people of color out there. Why wouldn't I give them a shot in the beauty industry that I didn't have? It's like, not to say there's plenty of brands hiring white people. There's not that same narrative for us. So like, why wouldn't I, if I am a CEO and empower my own brand, give that opportunity to our people? I just don't understand why not. But again, I'll tell you, it is really hard. Like when I do recruiting for leadership positions, sorting through it all to find the Black women, the South Asian women, it is really hard to like dissect who they are and like find those people, because there's not, but it's only hard if you don't make the effort, right? Like, that's the thing, is like, there's networks out there you can tap into, there's organizations out there. But again, I think the only way it's ever going to not be hard for people is if they see people in those positions to then say, oh, damn, I can become that. So now the volume of it increases. Yeah. I was told my whole life to be a doctor or lawyer. Why? And every brown girl I know was too. So why would we be in these positions? Because we were told to never be in these positions. So we have to be in them to change it for other people. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about, like, when we talk about equity, that's what this is, right? It's like leveling the playing field. It's not that we're giving people of color, Black people, special priority or something. This is what equity work looks like.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not hiring somebody just to say I did that. The point is, there's plenty of really, really smart, ambitious people of color out there that deserve the same opportunity, and they're just overlooked. Exactly. It's putting them in the pool of candidates at the first place that matters.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's step one. So often, I work for a company. Most people know who I work for, but usually I don't like outwardly say it. And I have to say, it's crazy to see like our D&I initiatives and like literal goaling towards like 50% of like this level of leadership needs to be women. 50% of this level of leadership needs to be people of color. And like, that was a conversation that I don't think was happening 5-10 years ago.
No. Absolutely.
That's the thing. They're being forced into it, but again, better that than
I'll
like
take it.
Than nothing. Yeah,
I
that's
will
true.
take it. I'm getting all my black and brown friends up in the company. I'm like,
Correct.
oh, we have quotas to meet.
Oh, I have people that can fill those.
Here we have
Yeah.
resumes.
Exactly. How dope is that? That makes me, yeah. So I always try to focus on the progress aspect. So that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Man, this is a therapy session. I love it.
I love it. I know we don't have you for super long, but something you did say resonated with me, and I think our listeners would like to hear about this. How is it being like an entrepreneur? Like, you're pretty young, and like something Glynn and I were literally just discussing before we got on this was like the grind, and like you feel like, oh my God, should we just give up? Like, how do we do this? You want to work for yourself, but that like working for yourself, that's a whole other playing field because
Beast. It never ends.
It never ends. So like, just give us everything you can give if you want to. Like, I would just love to know like how it started and kind of like what keeps you going.
I mean, I feel like everybody says it's so cool that you don't have a 9-to-5, but I have a 24/7. So I don't know the glamorized aspect of it. Sure, more flexibility and things like that, but I don't really ever have a true vacation because I started my career on the corporate side of the beauty industry. I was at L'Oreal, and then Victoria's Secret corporate. It was L Brands. And both because of they were spaces that I wanted to impact and change, right? Like especially like limited brands and stuff like they were, and as we all have seen with Victoria's Secret filing for bankruptcy and stuff, I wanted to be in the inside to be able to make a change. And then I went to Birchbox, which was like, do y'all know what that is? That beauty subscription company? Okay.
Yeah, I remember them.
I was an early employee at Birchbox, and that's where I really saw the growth of like a startup that was like venture backed with hyper growth and beauty industry, New York City. And it was like my business school. Like my plan was to go to work in the beauty industry, go to Harvard Business School, make my dad happy, and then start my own brand. But Birchbox felt like my business school. And while I was at Birchbox, I started a YouTube channel because beauty really was my passion. Like that same 16-year-old girl who didn't see herself, like I was obsessed. I was a junkie. Like being a beauty editor was like the dream job. So being a beauty influencer felt like a way that I could be an editor, but I had control over. Like becoming a beauty editor means that you have to know somebody, or you know, it takes a lot of work as an Indian girl to become a beauty editor. That felt impossible. So I kind of created my own beauty editor role in becoming an influencer. And my second video went viral and kind of changed my whole life. And I took that opportunity. And the day the Today Show asked me to come on to do a segment on air when that video went viral, I quit my job at Birchbox to do the influencer thing full time. And that was really uncomfortable because like I saw myself as a businesswoman and a marketer, and like you can justify that to your immigrant parents, but to say that my full-time job is an influencer, a YouTuber, and all these things was really mentally hard for me. But I think because I had my dad in my head. But the reality is it was the new wave of marketing, and I saw that opportunity.
Exactly. I was going to say influencers are business people and marketers all the time.
Right.
Sorry,
but it's so hard. It's so hard to see that, right? Like, because taking selfies for a living, and this was the early days, it was 2015. And so it was really tough for me, but I just knew there was an opportunity there. So I did it for 3 years. And then I was ready to start this brand, and it taught me that there needed to be a community coming together that was bigger than myself, which is why I started Live Tinted as a community platform first, and then grew it into a beauty brand. But the hardships of building a brand, I feel like I can't even articulate because I'm too drained to even talk about it. like I hope to one day write a book, but it's one of those things that I wanted to write one like during the journey to inspire girls to say like, look, you don't have to have all the answers, but get started. Yeah. But I'm too drained. Like, I don't even know. There's a reason people do it once they've made it or sold their company or exited. There's no way you have the energy or time to do anything besides just get through your day. There's people, there's fundraising, there's operational issues, there's the marketing upfront things. And then you're doing things like this, like a podcast, as I'm dealing with lawyers in my ear. But so there's, switching from being in front of camera to behind the camera to like, I'm still doing the influencer thing because it helps funnel Live Tinted, which is what I really care about. And so it's essentially 2 jobs, but really 10 jobs in one. And I'm not saying any of this to say I'm not grateful, because I am. I'm living my dream job, but it's not for the weak, and don't do it if you don't want to work your ass off every second of every day of your life, because that's just it.
That's real as hell.
Real
That's
talk.
real as hell, because people make it look cute. Like, I run my own business.
Yeah.
I swear people make it look cute, make it look fun. It's not. I grew up with my mom is an entrepreneur, and I have seen a lot. It actually scared me from
I think being
running
a
my own
face,
thing.
being a face of a company, right? Like if you're an influencer and you have you have a percentage of the company, but being a CEO and running a company is the absolute worst job. You have to hire people, fire people, manage people, fundraise, deal with investors, board seat people. And there's people in your ear at all times telling you to grow. And you're in your head thinking like, I have a purpose. And like, I don't need to like, so there's all these different noises in your head, and you have to balance it all. And I just think it's made me stronger than I ever even knew I was. But also, you every day have to look in the mirror and remind yourself why you're doing it. Because
yes.
And it's these combos, right? Like even just talking to y'all and saying that you do feel like the growth is happening between the connection between Black and brown, like that in itself is so exciting, and it fuels me. Like, yes, like that is awesome. Like we didn't have that.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like the little things. And I mean, in no way are we at your scale, but like
No, but it's all relative, right? Like, relative. And I feel like I'm not at, whatever. So
yeah, it's all relative. And then like so much of it, I think, like you said, is that community building and the representation and having people reach out to you and say they feel seen, because like,
that's it.
To me, like all these things can come and go with like the money and this and that, but like knowing that you've made an impact, I think feels so special.
Yeah. And like y'all said, I think you said like, why does it have to be we glamorize the idea of being $1 billion business, and like it made me think I needed to be that to be successful. If I'm not a unicorn company, then what am I even? What's the point? That is really needs to change, because since when was being $100 million business, a 50 million, a $10 million business, $1 million business, a shitty scenario?
Come on now. Like it's getting crazy. And I want us to go back to a space of like, yes, you need money, you need to have food on the table, but like what really matters, like having
when it's
community.
All said and done.
Yeah, yes. When it's all
joy,
said and done, if like
fulfillment, passion.
Yeah. And I think that it's that dichotomy of like, you want to work for yourself, you have to bust your ass off and you're making a legacy, but at the same time, like those fulfilling things that you have are these moments, or hearing a review from someone who's using your product. And like, I think what has gotten us to this like sick place where people then go against their values is the need for more.
Capitalism, you nailed it.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, okay. Yeah, I guess
it's sick. Yeah. It's sick. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about Live Tinted though.
Yes.
We're talking about the behind the scenes, but you mentioned the sunscreen, which I think is essential, crucial, very important. Sade and I are notoriously people that don't use enough sunscreen. Probably Sade a bit more than me, but the white cast is a big part of it.
But we were never. Yeah. I was never taught as a kid to wear a sunscreen. Like that wasn't a thing I was told, because I was like, oh, I'm not going to get red. I don't need to do this. And so I didn't know I needed to do it until this age, and now I'm going through being in the beauty industry and things like that. But now, if y'all know now and you still don't do it, we got an issue. We need to send you some of our sunscreen.
I put it on some days.
She'd be like, "Can I get 5%? 5% SPF?" But what are some of your other like amazing products? Anything that you want to tell us about your favorites? I love the under eye.
Girl, I need to send y'all a care package.
Yeah, they're all they're shiny and like golden. They're so beautiful. Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
Man, and see those little things, like people have no idea. It took us an extra year and a half to make those from when I wanted it to launch, because I wanted them to be cut in the shape of sun rays, because they're called rays, and I wanted it to be like we're embracing the sun and brightening the things that we were told to hide our whole lives. like the dark circles, like every little detail of this brand has like a dual meaning behind it because it just matters to me. And like the color, our brand color is copper because copper is so integral to so many different cultures around the world. And again, I wanted it to be this shared experience that we experience in beauty together. So all those little details, they're biodegradable. So it's like those little things make it take so much longer, but I feel so much prouder of it being in the world. And like, again, does the world really need another under eye patch? But I loved the symbolism of what it stood for.
No, it does from you.
Exactly. There's room.
Yeah, there's totally room. And and I think for me, all the products we create, there always is a narrative behind it. Like I think a lot of people say this, but I'm so inspired by Nike and how every campaign they release is not about the product, but it's about the ethos of the brand. And I have to, so I'm not Nike to where like, I'm still at the stage where my products matter because it's the business. And so I always try to find a balance between selling a product, but like we said earlier, it's just a vehicle to tell our story. So I want to share our stories, and you're going to see more of that from us. Where by the time this comes out, I think it'll be announced. Like our tagline, where like just got trademarked and stuff, is every shade has a story, because I want to connect product to storytelling as a brand. And yeah, I'm proud. I mean, things are going well. Y'all were saying I was being humble earlier. I'm not that humble. I got this whole wall of
come on, the accolades. Yes, we love to see it.
Well, I feel like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say sometimes you need to just be your own cheerleader.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
What do you have on your eyes right now? Is that the Hue Stick?
It's the Hue Stick and Raise. So all I put on today was Hue Glow, which is a serum moisturizer all over my face, Raise on my eyes, cheeks, and lips, and mascara. And I was just like, you know what?
What?
Less is more.
No, for those who can't see, it's this like peachy,
it's the no makeup makeup.
Yeah.
I love Rise. Rise to me is a color that no other brand has. It's this terracotta orange that looks beautiful on every skin tone, but it looks different on every skin tone, right? Like, and because it's made with all natural pigments, so it'll just blend into your natural hues. So like on me, it'll look more terracotta. On your skin tone, it might look like a more brighter orange, and like, but it's still beautiful. And I felt like that was what made it so special. Was I really want to turn millennial pink into Gen Z orange. That's my goal with my brand this year.
Into Gen Z orange. Oh my gosh.
That's my goal. We'll see.
So we usually have, we're called Black Girls Texting, and we talk about like spilling tea. You actually have given us a lot.
I gave a lot of tea.
So I don't even know. I don't know if I can ask this, but is there anything else on the horizon that you want to share with us? A new product in the works, or anything that we could say you heard it here first?
I mean, I think there's no other interview I will do in podcast form that talks about the All People of Color board, and I'm really proud of that. And it's going to align and be announced at the same time as this. I mean, honestly, the money is being wired into the bank right now, so prayer, like everyone, knock on every wood. That, like,
fingers and toes.
Until it's done, it's not done. So I don't want to jinx anything either, but it should be like next week. People are starting to wire and everything. So I have never given this much tea to any.
I know. I'm like, I can't even really ask for more. I'm just being greedy now. My cup is running over.
Is overflowing. Exactly.
This was therapy right now, man. We just had a therapy session, but I love doing these. It feels, and honestly, the interviews of your podcast that I've seen feel very like conversational, and I really appreciate that energy.
That's what it's all about. We really just try to show that we're just like anybody else, even though we're amazing and incredible and gorgeous
and melanated and
melanated and perfect and beautiful.
I love
and
it.
And flawed and tired and overworked.
Yes. All of that. Normalize all of that being talked about, please.
All of it. Exactly. Normalize after this interview, me getting a glass of wine and going back
running to the wine shop. Exactly.
I'm drinking a glass of rosé, and I ordered a massage because I can't feel my shoulders.
Go ahead.
I love you.
Do your thing. Deepica, thank you so much for joining us. This was wonderful.
Yes.
And shout out to everything you're doing.
Everything. I'm standing. I was just going to say, can you please plug all your plugs, your handles, all the good stuff, so the people can find you and they can get these faces beat like
Please do, please. Exactly. Instead of supporting like the big businesses, just shop small, whatever small business. It really matters. Like every single purchase matters. And I think sometimes because of social media, things look glamorized. They don't realize behind the scenes, we are all still constantly trying to prove that we matter. And so Live Tinted is LIVETINTED on all social channels, and our website's the same, and it's Live Not Live, Live Tinted. and you can follow me too. It's at Deepica, DEEPICA.
Thank you so much.
Get on it. Thank you.
Thank you. And you guys